Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're jumping into Stephen King's latest, Never Flinch. We've sifted through, well, a whole stack of reviews and analyses. Our goal here is really to give you the essentials, cut through the noise so you can figure out pretty quickly if this is one for your reading list. We want to get you those surprising details and the themes that people are talking about.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Never Flinch kind of feels like classic King in some ways, but maybe a bit different too. We've basically pulled out the key takeaways from all those reviews, what critics really liked, and maybe where it didn't quite hit the mark for some.
Okay, that mix sounds good. So can you set the scene? What's the basic setup that has everyone talking?
Sure. So Never Flinch uses this dual narrative thing, two storylines woven together. On one side, you've got this pretty chilling serial killer, calls himself Trig or sometimes Bill Wilson, and he's got this revenge mission, threatening to kill 13 innocents and one guilty because of some wrongful death.
Okay, that sounds like intense King territory. And the other thread, you mentioned it felt contemporary.
Exactly. The second storyline involves a far-right extremist who is very deliberately targeting a feminist speaker, Kate McKay, while she's on tour. And what pulls it together and what got reviewers excited is that Holly Gibney is back, from Mr. Mercedes, The Outsider, Holly.
Ah, Holly. So she's right in the middle of all this. How does she connect to both these, well, pretty different threats?
Yeah, she gets involved in both cases. She's consulting with Detective Izzy Janes on the Trigg killings, but she also ends up working as Kate McKay's bodyguard. So she's central, and it all kind of builds towards this convergence in Dayton, Ohio. Reviewers called the climax pretty tense and, gruesome.
Right, gruesome. It is King, after all. But was there anything about how those plots came together that, really stood out in the reviews?
A lot of critics thought the convergence actually felt quite earned. Even though the plots start far apart, the tension from both sides really ramps up and then sort of explodes together at the end. Classic King payoff, basically.
Okay, so let's dig into that. What was the big highlight? The thing that critics universally, or almost universally, praised?
Oh, definitely Holly Gibney.
Yeah.
Hands down, people really loved seeing her continued growth. They described her as stepping fully into being this confident, even charismatic PI, and she's doing it while navigating her neurodivergence with this really strong moral compass and sharp instinct.
That's interesting. Her neurodivergence. Reviewers mentioned her OCD, for instance, not just as a quirk, but as key to solving things. How does that work?
Yeah, that's what's fascinating. Her need for order, her meticulous nature, how she processes things differently. It allows her to see patterns others miss. It's not a hindrance. It's actually a strength. One review even called it forensic neurodivergence. Basically, her unique perspective is her edge in figuring out these killers. It's a really powerful way to frame it.
Okay, beyond Holly, King is obviously tackling some big themes here. Extremism, vigilante stuff. How did reviewers feel he handled that? Was it just a thriller backdrop or more?
Most felt it was more than just backdrop. They highlighted how King shows the impact of these ideas. Like the extremist villain, it wasn't just about his ideology, but how it plays out in these disturbingly normal-seeming ways sometimes. It reflects anxieties about radicalization today. One reviewer said it was like a chilling mirror to our news feeds. That really stuck with me.
And the violence against women aspect, was that a major point of discussion?
Definitely. Many found the portrayal quite stark, quite compelling. It really zeroes in on how extremist views often target women, especially women with a public voice. It felt very relevant and didn't pull punches.
And the pacing.
Yeah.
King's known for that page-turner quality. Did Never Flinch deliver on the suspense, the build-up?
Oh, yeah. Reviewers praised the pace, that slow burn dread, punctuated by these sudden, almost cinematic bursts of action, leading up to that big finale where everything collides. It definitely seems to deliver that core King experience his readers look for.
Right, the constant readers expect that tension.
Exactly. And juggling two plot lines like that, keeping the tension high in both before smashing them together, that's skill. Critics noted that.
Okay, so lots of positives, especially around Holly and the suspense.
Yeah.
But you mentioned it wasn't a universal rave. What were some of the criticisms?
True. There were definitely recurring points. Some felt that while the setup was good, the villains could feel a bit one-note, maybe slightly cliched, and some of the dialogue apparently dipped into, slightly hackneyed territory at times, like the evil was maybe too obvious, less complex.
That's a bit surprising for King. Usually his villains are so memorable. Any other specific issues raised?
A big one, or at least one that sparked discussion, was how gender and identity were handled. Particularly, some concerns were voiced about the portrayal of gender fluidity connected to the extremist character. The worry was that it might lean into harmful stereotypes, unintentionally or not. So definitely a mixed reaction there.
And Kate McKay, the speaker being targeted.
Hmm.
How did her character land?
Kind of related, yeah. Some reviewers found her characterization a bit uneven, felt her feminist stance sometimes came across as maybe caricatured rather than fully fleshed out, lacked a bit of nuance, perhaps.
And what about the structure itself, the two plot lines?
That came up too. A few critics mention a sense of imbalance, like the two plots didn't always get equal weight, leading to maybe some pacing issues mid-book when it shifted focus, particularly to the stalker plot. And then the ending, while impactful, felt maybe a little rushed some in how it brought everything together.
Okay, so weighing all that up, the good and the less good, what's the overall vibe? The final verdict from the reviews.
It really seems to sit in that mixed to positive range. Kirk has called it a big screen thriller, praised the pace and the social commentary, but also pointed out cliches. Their line was something like, even when King is not at his best, he's still good.
Okay, sort of a qualified positive, but others were stronger.
Yeah, Publishers Weekly was much more enthusiastic. They loved Holly, liked the structure, called it a must-read. The Washington Post also liked Holly's journey and King tackling tough themes, but they did mention some tropes felt a bit dated.
And Bookmarks, the review aggregator.
Their summary basically reflected that mix. Lots of suspense, great momentum, but maybe unevenness in characters and how the themes landed.
So it sounds like classic King suspense is there. Holly's return is a huge plus, but maybe expect some bumps in character depth or thematic handling depending on your sensitivities.
That sums it up pretty well, I think. It delivers on the thrill ride and the beloved character, but some of the other layers might not connect perfectly for everyone.
Right. So thinking about who should read this, if you're already a big King fan or just love crime thrillers in general.
Then yeah, you'll probably get a lot out of this. The dual plots, the suspense, seeing Holly again, that's likely going to work for you.
And what about readers specifically interested in those social themes? Extremism, misogyny.
Well, if you like thrillers that try to engage with those issues, Never Flinch definitely puts them front and center. It's trying to be part of that conversation wrapped in a King narrative.
And finally, if you're looking for something morally complex, despite the criticisms,
I'd say yes, potentially. It might not be perfect, but through Holly's perspective especially, it does raise ethical questions. It gives you something to chew on, even with the critiques.
Okay, so wrapping this up for you, our listener, we've looked at Never Flinch from, well, pretty much every angle the review's offered. You've got this complex dual plot, Holly Gibney's really compelling evolution, King tackling some heavy, timely social issues, but also that mixed feedback on character depth, structure, how some themes were handled. It seems clear you get it. Signature King suspense plus this thoughtful, sometimes debated look at modern anxieties.
Yeah, and I think what this really underscores is King's ongoing project, right? Weaving these big, entertaining thrillers around really difficult real-world stuff, which leads to a good question for you to think about as you decide on reading it. Just how well can a popular thriller entertain you, keep you on the edge of your seat, and make you think critically about the deep social divides we're all grappling with today?